Hello friends, let me show you something real quick before we get to our first town. This is the famous Ruiru Dam. As you can see, it is in the middle of tea plantations and it was built in 1950 by the colonial government. Pretty old. Well, I'm next to a road, so don't mind the noise. In fact, this is part of the Mau Mau Road complex, Kiambu chapter. Githunguri town is only 3 kilometers away, and so we are in Githunguri constituency. But in a few minutes, we'll be hitting our first town, which is in Lari constituency. And so you better stay tuned. But first, let us admire this beautiful ecosystem. I told you the dam was completed in 1950, and it has a storage capacity of 2.9 million cubic meters. I'm also told that it stores raw water with a yield of 21,600 cubic meter per day, and it contributes approximately 4% of Nairobi current water supply. And so you can see that this is quite an important asset, especially to Nairobi County. In fact, there is a 25 kilometers pipeline that stretches from here all the way to Kabete, where the water is treated before it is distributed to the people of Nairobi. Well, the place is quite slopey, and as you know, landslides are prone to such places. Well, everyone, I'm on my way to our first town of the day. In fact, I plan to visit 2 towns in the area. And as you can see, this part of the road is not tarmacked. Although the contractor is on site, I've spotted him. This is part of the Mau Mau Road complex, a 500 kilometers road network proposed and designed by the former administration. The main aim was to tarmac all the routes that were used by the Mau Mau fighters in their honor, and the road covers 4 counties, and that are Kiambu, Nyandarua, Nyeri, and Murang'a. I'll be telling you more about the connection between this place and the Mau Mau War later in the video. In fact, I'll give you the great history of the Night of the Long Knives, which is mostly referred to as Lari Massacre. We will also check the area statistics. I can assure you they are quite interesting. But first, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to our YouTube channel, Village to Town, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. And so make sure you subscribe to this channel. It's absolutely free. You can also talk to us and tell us whether you have been into this part of the country. Now back to the video. And this is Lari constituency in Kiambu County. It is the ruralmost constituency in Kiambu County out of the 12. In fact, it is at the northernmost corner where the county meets Nyandarua County and Nakuru County. I'm sure most of you patriots have been here, whether knowingly or unknowingly, as the constituency starts at a place called Nyambari, just past Limuru town along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway, and goes all the way to a small town called Sokomjinga, where Kiambu County meets Nyandarua County. We'll visit there soon. It's quite an interesting place, and I can see we have made our way to our first town, which goes by the name Kamburu Shopping Center. I want to get to the interior part of the town so that we can explore it better. We want to see how people live here, whether the town is developed, and how businesses are faring in the village. Well, for the first impression, the town is not a bad one. In fact, I'm quite impressed. It's quite busy, despite being far away from any highway. You can also see the interior roads are well maintained. In fact, they are tarmacked. And that came as a little surprise for me. I never expected that. It is not obvious for a village town to have neat roads. Well, I can see most buildings are quite old, and that tells you that the town is not a new one. It has seen better days. you can see it's still doing well for itself, especially in terms of business, a factor that we can confidently attribute to the tea industry. As you have noted before getting here, this is in the tea zone. You can even see the weather, it's always cold. And if you are familiar with this country, you know that towns in the tea zone are doing far much better than their counterpart in the coffee zones. And this status quo has been ongoing for some times now, as the tea industry has never collapsed, although the prices might be a bit low, as the industry is still strong, especially when compared to other subsectors in the agricultural sector. And so it is not much likely to see totally broke people in this area, although poor people are all over in this country, let's face it. But what I'm trying to say is that the poverty rate is not as high as in other rural parts of this country. Well, let me give you some statistics as I leave the town for the next. And Kamburu town has a total population of 3,227 people. 1,556 are men, while 1,632 are women. Well, you can see the number of women is a bit higher in the town, with about 100, which is a normal gender distribution. And in terms of population density, there are 658 people in a square kilometer. That tells you that this is a village town, as the area is not as densely populated as expected. Remember, this is Kiambu County, which is one of the most densely populated counties in this country. In fact, it comes second from Nairobi, with an average of 1,085 people per square kilometer. The entire Kamburu area, which is a sub-location, measures about 5 kilometers squared. And as I always say, 1 kilometer squared equals to 250 acres of land. And so you can do the maths and see the size of this area in terms of acreage, which I'm sure it's a bit easier for most people to understand. Well, in terms of real estate, most people here are homeowners. Renting is not common here, but of course you can get a house to rent. Since there is a good number of outsiders, especially teachers and doctors. And what I can assure you is that with at least 5,000 Kenya shillings, you can get a good house to rent. Remember, this is rural Kenya, and the renting prices are a bit lower, especially when compared to their counterparts in the urban centers. And as I just told you, most people here are homeowners. And so buying a piece of land and building your own home is the most ideal thing to do here. And so if you want to buy a piece of land in this area, I saw an advert of a half an acre going for 3 million Kenya shillings. Well, I saw another one going for 3.5 million Kenya shillings. And remember, the prices are negotiable and they depend with various factors, including location and the type of soil. But I can assure you that with at least 5 million Kenya shillings, you can get an acre of land around this place. I want to give you more statistics about this area as I leave town. In fact, I'll be hitting our next town in less than a minute. And I want to focus more on Lari constituency, which is where this town is located. And the constituency has a total population of 135,303 people. That is as of 2019. And in 2009, the total population was 123,000 people. And that tells you that in 10 years, the population increased with about 12,000 people only. And so the annual population change is estimated at 0.88% per annum. And in terms of population density, there are 313 people in a square kilometer. I want to check the gender distribution in the constituency real quick. And 50.4% of the total population living here are women, while 49.6% are men. Another interesting number to note is that there are 4 intersex. In terms of age distribution, well, there's nothing unusual about that, as those aged between 0 and 14 are 45,382, which is about 33.5% of the total population, while the elderly population, or rather those aged 65 and above, accounts for 6.1% of the total population. Well, our second town is right here, and it goes by the name Matim Bay Shopping Center. And from the look of things, it's a bit smaller than the previous one. In fact, it is a typical small town, and I'm looking for a way to get into the town center. And the town has a total population of 3,123 people. 1,542 are men, while 1,581 are women. In terms of population density, there are 449 people living in a square kilometer. Well, I'm about to get into the town center, and the first people I see are these three old-timers. They are obviously passing their time, probably reminiscing about the good old days in this town. Probably there was a time when there were 2 shops here, or 3, and it seems like the town is stuck on its past. Nothing much is ongoing here. We can say it is a dead town. The internal roads are not that pleasant too. You can see it for yourself. But let's give credit where it's due. The town has produced one big name in this country, and she goes by the name Muthoni Mukiri. She was a sensational news anchor at Inoro TV. I don't know where she went, but she came from this area. And so if you are from this area, or you are quite familiar with it, you can give us a list of the celebrities that come from this town down on the comment section below. Well, I want to turn around as I leave the small, beautiful town, and I'm reminded to give the today's date. It's around 5:30 p.m. in the month of June 2024. You can see the cold season is here, but we definitely soldier on. And it is good to know that the nearby road just got tarmacked. And so I can tell you that the future of this town is bright. You can see that most shops are closed. Well, I don't know the reason behind that, but it seems like the town is not doing well, especially in terms of business. But all in all, it's a small, beautiful town. In fact, there's a lot of things that goes on my mind, especially when I visit such small towns. Good memories and the village ambience are out of this world. Well, thanks for watching this far. This is at the point where I say goodbye at Matim Bay Shopping Center. Please continue watching the scenic video until the end, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Village to Town TV, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. Also consider liking the video so that it can be recommended to as many people as possible, and smash the notification bell so that every time we post, you'll be among the first few people to be notified. Keep the conversation going on the comment section below. Tell us, what do you think about today's video? Do you like the towns, Matim Bay Shopping Center and Kamburu? What do you think about the rural parts of Kenya? Would you consider living here? Also, if you happen to come from this area, kindly drop a fact or two about your hood, and we will appreciate. I also want to give a big shout out to Team Village to Town TV, those who watch and like all the videos. Thank you, fam.